A thought has just ended, and the next thought has not yet arrived. Stay there for a moment, not in the thought that just passed, not in the thought that is coming, in the space between them. What are you in that tiny interval? Not what you think you are, or what you have been told you are. What are you right now, in the gap between the next thought that fills it? This question is the entire teaching. Everything that follows is simply an invitation to look more carefully at what that question is pointing at. There is a verse from one of the oldest and least understood texts in the entire contemplative tradition, the Spanda Karikas, the verses on the divine pulse. Verse 9 points towards something the ancient teachers called unmesha, from meaning opening, blooming, arising, and mesha, meaning to flash, to reveal. Unmesha, the opening of consciousness to itself. The moment awareness briefly recognizes what it actually is, not through accumulation of more thought, but through the gap where thought temporarily ceases. You are not the stream of thoughts. You are what remains when the stream briefly stops. And the stream stops more often than you realize. Every moment, one thought ends and another begins. There is a gap, tiny, almost imperceptible, passed through so quickly that the mind hardly even notices it. But it is there. It has always been there. And in that gap, in that brief opening, something is present that is not the thought that just ended and not the thought about to arrive. Something that has no story, no name, no agenda, no history to defend or future to project, simply aware. Now, let me show you what this actually feels like through something every person listening has experienced so many times that they have stopped even noticing it. Think of the ocean, wave after wave arriving at the shore, each wave distinct, each wave carrying its own shape, its own momentum, its own particular quality of movement. And between each wave, a pause, a moment when the previous wave has returned to the sea and the next wave has not yet formed. Imagine it. In that pause, what is present? The ocean. The ocean that was present in every wave. The ocean that will be present in every wave to come. The ocean that was never actually the wave, and yet was never absent from it. Your thoughts are the waves. The gap between them is where you can feel the ocean. Or listen to music, for example. A musician plays a note. The note sounds, it resonates, it fills the room with a particular quality. Then it ends. And in the space before the next note arrives, there is something that is not silence in the ordinary sense. It is a charged silence, the anticipatory pause, a silence that contains the note that just ended and the note about to begin, and is itself neither of them. The great musicians know this space intimately. They say the music is not in the notes, it is in the space between them. And the listener who can feel that space, who can stay present in the gap between sounds, is hearing something the casual listener completely misses. The same truth is of the gap between thoughts. Think of lightning and thunder. The lightning flashes, and then there is a pause. That held breath of moment between the flash and the sound. In that pause, something is present that is neither the light nor the sound, a kind of pure suspension, a moment outside the sequence of events. The gap between thoughts is like this, a suspension between two movements of the mind. And in that suspension, even for half a second, awareness is present without an object, aware of nothing in particular, aware of everything in general, aware of itself. This is unmesha. Now, before we go any further, I want to try something with you right now, not as an exercise, as a genuine experiment. Ready? Ask yourself quietly and sincerely, what will be my next thought? Do not guess. Do not manufacture an answer. Actually wait. Watch for the next thought, the way you might watch for the first bird to sing before dawn. Completely alert, completely open, not knowing what will arrive or when. So again, what will your next thought be? Stay there. Notice. In the waiting, in that open, watchful silence, something is already present. An awareness, awake, alert, completely here, and completely without content. No thought, and yet undeniably, someone is waiting for one. That someone, that aware, opening, watching presence is not a thought. It cannot be a thought. It is what thoughts appear in. It is what was here before the question was asked. It is what will be here after the next thought arrives and dissolves and is replaced by the one after that, unmesha, the opening. You just touched it, not by achieving anything or by stopping the mind, simply by waiting for a thought that had not yet come, and noticing what was already awake in the waiting. This is the Spanda Karikas pointing not at a concept, but at a direct experience available in any moment, requiring no preparation, no retreat, no special conditioning, only the willingness to ask one genuine question and wait long enough to notice what is doing the waiting. There is a story about a man who spent 15 years learning to paint light, not objects, not landscapes, not the things that light falls on, light itself. He studied the great painters who had captured it. He traveled to the coasts and the valleys and the cities to observe it in different conditions. He mixed thousands of colors, trying to find the one that was not a color, the one that was simply the presence of light before it became anything specific. His teacher watched him. He watched the struggle for years, and one afternoon said something he did not understand until much later. You keep painting what the light falls on. You have not yet painted the light itself. The man asked, how do I paint what is invisible? The teacher said, you stop looking at what the light illuminates, and you look at the illuminating itself. The man went home. He sat in his studio. For a long time, he simply looked not at anything, but at the quality of seeing itself. And something opened. Not a technique, not a new way of mixing color, a recognition that what he had been trying to paint was not outside him wanting to be captured. It was the very awareness he was looking with. The light and the seeing of the light were the same movement. And in that recognition, in that single moment of unmesha, he understood what the gap between thoughts had been offering him every single day of his entire life. A chance to stop looking at the mind and what it illuminates, and to notice the illuminating itself. Practice this in your own time. Emit this question like a mantra, and wait, and then emit it again. What will my next thought be? That waiting, that alert, open presence is the gap, is the ocean between the waves, is the silence between the notes, is the held breath between the lightning and the thunder, is you before the story, before the name, before the next thought arrives to tell you who you are. This is not a state to be manufactured. This is what remains when the manufacturing briefly stops. And the beautiful paradox, the one the Spanda Karikas have been pointing at for over thousands of years, is this. You do not have to stop thinking to discover consciousness. You only have to notice the tiny interval in which thinking changes. Now, many people have heard of the question the great sage Ramana Maharshi offered as a pointer. Who am I? And they take it and begin thinking, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the emotions, I am awareness, I am consciousness. And without realizing it, they have answered a question with more thought. They have used the mind to try to step us outside of the mind, which is like trying to see your own eye with your own eye. The question was never meant to be answered. It was meant to usher in the gap, even widening the gap. The moment of genuine not knowing that stops the mind's habitual forward movement. And in that stopping, reveals what was already present underneath it. This is why what will my next thought be works so immediately, because it cannot be answered by thinking. It can only be met with waiting. And in the waiting, the gap opens. That interval is always there, between this word and the next, between this breath and the one that follows, between the thought ending right now and the one that has not yet arrived. The gap is not empty. It is the fullest thing you have ever touched. It has been here in every pause, in every suspension, in every tiny opening between one movement of the mind and the next. Since the very first thought you ever had. Unmesha, the opening. Already open, already here. Ask one more time. What will my next thought be? Wait. There. Right there. In that waiting, that is you. Before everything else, always, already here.